the most about it was the fact that the pilots, plural, didn't raise the gear. It looked as if they had lost an engine. Okay, on the 787, it's really, really difficult to tell if you've lost an engine because the flight control system is so automatic, and the thrust asymmetry protection system, TAPS,
Right.
takes care of keeping the airplane pretty much aligned. You get just enough yaw to know that you had a problem with the airplane, with an engine failure.
Okay.
So it all of a sudden it was taking off, and then it started looking like it was descending. So at first, my first look at it was, well, they lost an engine and they didn't raise the gear. But like I said, we wait until we get more and more information as it comes along and try to decide what really happened. And then people were telling us that the airplane lost both engines, and they thought that it was a bird strike for a while.
Right.
Then they were saying that the pilots didn't have the proper configuration for takeoff, that the flaps weren't extended. Well, it's a Boeing airplane, and it takes off at different flap settings. They're fixed, 1 and 5. And if you take a look at the one flap's position and even the 5, you get very, very little trailing edge flaps. It's all slats in the front of the airplane. So it wasn't an improper configuration problem. So we keep going along and keep waiting for other explanations to come out. And finally, they started looking at whether or not it could accidentally cut off, because they got the flight data recording. The flight data recording showed that the fuel cutoff switches came off one right after another.
Right.
So they wanted to look at it and see if it was possible for those fuel switches to accidentally go into from run to cutoff.
And you and I talked about this closer at the time when they started getting some of that information, right? They can't be accidentally moved. There's no, even if the springs fail, the actual retainer springs, it still cannot accidentally happen.
Well, a long, long time ago, it could have accidentally happened, but not on the 777 or the 787.
The outcry from the general public of, well, why do we not have cameras in the cockpits, right? And you and I have talked about this before, so go ahead. I mean, tell me from a captain of an airline, right? Tell me where your brain goes with that, where your thought process goes with how intrusive that is into the cockpit.
I personally think it's very intrusive in the cockpit. I'm not one of those people that advocates cameras in the cockpit of an airplane.
Right.
The voice recorder, the data that we have to analyze is more than adequate, in my opinion, to come up with a determination for the cause of an accident and anything that they want to know that caused the accident. They don't have to have a video recording that can be destroyed.
Right.
Anyway, the cockpit voice recorder caught everything that was said prior to the accident like it was supposed to.
Right.
So I just don't feel the need for the intrusion into the cockpit.
Right.
There's too many things that people could see that they may not like or
misread.
Maybe I think misread is a
misinterpret what's actually being, why it was brought in and why you were an advocate for it.
I'm a very, 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 very big person on training.
Yes.
I really think adequate training is key, and I think experience is key. So yes, I was an advocate of the 1500. I have trained pilots with 350 to 500 hours to be first officers on the 787.
Right.
And it's an experience.
Right. And then, the next part that seems to be starting to poke its head up is, we need psychological testing for pilots. We actually have not talked about this yet at all. So I think inside of the pilot, the aviation community, we are held to pretty extreme standards, as well we should. But the intrusivity of going through now psychological testing and everything else, when we already go through so much testing, and it is a career field. I've heard you say this before, so you can correct me if I say this the wrong way. But we are in a career field that we stand a pretty high probability, or a pretty high chance, should I put it that way, that our next medical is our last medical. Okay, and that's every year or every 6 months, depending on how old you are, right?
Out of the companies, and we're filling them with inexperienced people. And so we're going to see a rise in accidents and incidents until the experience level gets high. I don't foresee them raising the age for retirement. I don't foresee that. I do foresee the airlines trying to get more experienced people into the cockpits. In other words, you may be on hold. Instead of being a restricted ATP, 1,000 hours, going right to a regional carrier, they may wait a while until you have 1,500 to 2,000 hours before they start pulling you to the regional, so that the airlines will pick you up with more experience. That's what I think is going to occur. I don't think there's going to be a drastic change in the way that we do business.
Right. I mean, you and I talk pretty regularly. I mean, we share an office, so we talk every day.
Yeah.
But the amount of hiring that is starting to spark off again now from the majors.
I mean, that was a pretty big deal for Air India to admit that there was criminal liability.
Right.
And that was published in a newspaper article, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and I have always said we don't mind talking about these incidents, but we're going to wait until more information comes out. So it's not just, you're not just trying to get click views, right? You're not just trying to get sensationalism. I swear, when this first happened, I must have seen, I can't even think of the amount of videos that popped up, and they were getting major views. And I'm not interested in that. I want to share information. We want to share information that is not sensationalism. It's been validated. We can talk about it, let it cool down a little bit and let more information actually come out. Because there was all kinds of bits with this, the rat deployed, and they lost an engine. They must have lost all engine power. The hydraulic system recognized it, and that's what deployed the rat. And I'm just like,
yeah, we'll just wait.
Yeah, why don't we just wait and see? And that, to your point about not being able to see slats and flaps, you can see flaps. I haven't seen any videos from a frontal view of that airplane so far, so nobody can really talk about the configuration being right, wrong, or indifferent.
Well, they can now.
Now they can, because of the data.
Because they have the data.
Right.
And the data shows that the airplane was in the proper configuration for takeoff.
Yeah. The amount of people